You ready for some bounty info?
I'll take it.
The anime genre is no stranger to ridiculously overpowered villains, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of the most overpowered around. Anime and insanely overpowered antagonists, name a more iconic duo, I dare ya. While many anime villains are pushovers, there's often at least one in a series that can push the protagonist to the absolute brink. Here are some of the most downright busted anime villains in their respective series. Also, be warned, there are a lot of spoilers in this video for a bunch of different anime series. If you're worried about spoiling a show you haven't caught up on yet, check the chapters in the description just in case.
Are you trying to take the throne from me? No!
For the most part, the world of Cowboy Bebop stays pretty grounded in a believable sci-fi reality. But there are exceptions to the show's grounded nature, such as the terrifyingly creepy and powerful Mad Perot. But the Cowboy Bebop villain that stands out amongst the crowd is the short-lived leader of the Red Dragon Crime Syndicate and counterpart to our protagonist Spike Spiegel, Vicious. In a series full of guns and spaceships, it's notable that Vicious prefers to wield a katana, which helps sell that he is an extremely edgy dude. And while he is able to fight Spike to a stalemate at the end of the show, his most notable feat is his complete takeover of the Red Dragon Crime Syndicate. Vicious is able to bring over some of the Syndicate's best fighters to help with his coup, and ultimately take down the leader of the Syndicate. This makes Vicious one of the strongest people in the solar system, with an army of, well, vicious crime members backing him up. While at the beginning of the show, he seems like a scary guy with a katana that is a match for Spike, by the end, he is a scary guy with a katana that also runs a powerful crime family. Without a doubt, the former captain of the 5th Division, Sosuke Aizen, is one of the most cunning and powerful villains in all of Bleach. And while his power is very notable, it's his strategic and manipulative mind that earns him his numerous victories. Aizen is one of the most intelligent characters in the entire series and possesses knowledge of events and powers that few others are aware of. Not only that, but he's got a serious silver tongue. For the longest time, he was believed to be one of the good guys while performing horrendous actions in the background. Though his intellect may be his greatest boon, Aizen is no weakling when it comes to his powers and abilities. He is a master swordsman, has incredible strength, and can use Kaidou spells at the highest level. With all of his power and careful planning, Aizen makes for one of the most formidable opponents in all of anime. In a series full of Lovecraftian horrors beyond human comprehension, it would take a lot to stand out from the crowd. And as it turns out, everyone's favorite awful father Bondrewd from Made in Abyss passes with flying colors. Bondrewd is a highly immoral but extremely intelligent white whistle cave delver that drew the ire of many of his peers. But because his horrible experiments often provided incredible breakthroughs, most other cave delvers turned a blind eye toward him. These experiments and the artifacts that he had recovered eventually made Bondrewd one of the most formidable creatures in the Abyss, and effectively gave him infinite respawns too. Without going into too much detail, Bondrewd has done the unthinkable and found a way to make himself nearly immune to the curse of the Abyss. He can also transfer his soul between bodies and can fire a variety of powerful lasers, most notably Sparagmos, which is about on par with Reg's own Incinerate cannon. While Reg, Nanachi, and Rico were able to just barely pull out a win against the bad dad, it was a desperate fight. Mob Psycho 100 has its fair share of downright overpowered villains, but none more so than the leader of Claw himself, Toichiro Suzuki. As the supreme leader of a band of psychic insurgents, Toichiro stands out amongst even his strongest lieutenants as the most powerful esper in Claw. Raw power aside, Toichiro also has a wide range of experience and abilities. His list of psychic abilities is immense and ranges from energy blasts to shields and creating temporary clones of himself. He has also shown incredible control over his power output and can effortlessly regulate how much psychic power he wants to use. In the end, Toichiro only really loses to Mob, as his body can't handle the immense amount of power he had forced it to take. As potentially the strongest esper in the world of Mob Psycho, Toichiro earns a spot as one of the most OP villains in anime. As the main villain of one of the most over-the-top animes around, it's no surprise that Ragyo Kiryuin finds her way onto this list, and as a bonus, she has one of the best themes ever for an anime villain. Ragyo was the CEO of the Revox Corporation, which essentially acted as a front to assist the life fibers in gaining complete control over humanity. Because of this, the life fibers granted her their strength to help subjugate the planet. Like her younger daughter, Ryuko Matoi, Ragyo had taken life fibers within herself and become a hybrid of human and life fibers, granting her immense power and nearly unparalleled regenerative abilities. Even when fighting together at their full strength, Ryuko and Satsuki were unable to defeat their mother. It took absorbing the power of the Goku uniforms to transform Ryuko's Senketsu into a Senketsu Kisaragi to defeat Ragyo along with the combined Scissor Blade. And even then, it was barely enough to defeat the Revox CEO for good. In One Piece, Luffy's goal is to become the Pirate King, but one of the biggest obstacles to this dream is the monstrously large and powerful beast pirate Kaidou. Just by looking at Kaidou, it's no surprise that he is one of the strongest characters in the entire series. Kaidou is over 23 feet tall and nearly as wide. This makes Kaidou appear to be a massive Oni in human skin. Regardless of his impressive physique though, Kaidou has the feats to prove his immense strength. Said to be the world's strongest creature, Kaidou was able to overpowered Luffy's Gear 4 transformation easily and could withstand several of Luffy's Gear 3 punches without any major injuries. Luffy was only able to damage Kaidou when he attacked the Beast Pirate's insides directly. Kaidou is so durable that he has survived well over 40 attempts on his life and has fallen over 10,000 meters only to have a headache afterward. While Luffy was finally able to best him, there's a good chance that falling into a volcano won't be the last we've seen of the Beast Pirate. Dio Brando is one of the most hopelessly evil characters in all of anime, and that's saying a lot. Ever since rejecting his humanity in the first part of JoJo, he has been a constant malicious force in the world, even after being defeated by Jotaro. Dio is the main villain of parts 1 and 3 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and he is a lot different in both iterations. In part 1, he is merely a vampire with some crazy strong abilities like his near-perfect regeneration and his aptly titled Space Ripper Stingy Eyes. However, in part 3, he forgoes many of these abilities in favor of his stand, the World. The World is about on par with Jotaro's Star Platinum, except for the fact that the World also has access to the absolutely broken ability of stopping time. Though fortunately, Jotaro realizes that they have the same type of stand and replicates the power himself before delivering a beatdown on the vampire. While Dio has a lot going for him, his arrogance is often his downfall. He's so arrogant he spends half of every time stop just monologuing and toying with Jotaro. You could probably make a case for another JoJo villain such as post-stand Kira or Diavolo taking the spot, but there's no question that Dio has cast a shadow over the entire Joestar bloodline. King Bradley, possibly better known as Wrath, is a homunculus representing one of the 7 sins. It's no surprise then that Wrath is likely the strongest of the homunculi in the Full Metal series. As his title would suggest, Bradley rises to become the commander-in-chief of his military. This means that not only is Bradley a physical force to be reckoned with, but he has a powerful army under his command to boot. Being a homunculus, Bradley possesses superhuman abilities in nearly every physical and mental field. In essence, this means he is stronger, faster, smarter, and more resilient than any human. These enhance his already impressive swordsmanship and make him a force to be reckoned with on the battlefield. Perhaps his most notable attribute is his ultimate eye, which gives him an almost Spidey sense-like precognition, allowing him to avoid attacks he couldn't otherwise. This ability also gives him innate knowledge of an opponent's strengths and weaknesses. Eventually, he meets his demise at the hand of Scar, but up until then, Wrath was a serious force to be reckoned with in Full Metal Alchemist. Griffith may look like an idealized version of an angel, but once his mind fractures due to an unfortunate series of events, he loses whatever good motivations were inside him. Eventually, his lust for power led him to join the God Hand and become the demon Femto. As his demon self, Griffith has completely lost any sense of morality he may have once had. However, his forsaking of his humanity comes with an increase in his power. Before becoming a demon, Griffith was already an incredibly skilled warrior, warrior, but after, his abilities are amped up even further. His charisma after becoming a demon with an angelic appearance makes him magnetic to those around him, which allows him to easily amass followers. But perhaps most importantly, Griffith is effectively immortal, unable to be destroyed by conventional methods. Griffith is incredibly powerful, to say the least, and there isn't much in the mortal worlds that would be able to stop him. It's safe to say that Griffith is one of the most overpowered characters in anime. In the world of ninja, few stand out as an evil force of nature quite like Madara Uchiha from Naruto. Madara is said to be one of the strongest shinobi in history, and after the passing of Izuna, he lost whatever compassion remained in him. With bloodlust and a vie for power, Madara took his powers into battle against anyone that got in his way or would prove to be a worthy opponent. This resulted in many fights heavily skewed in his favor, even against some of the strongest shinobi in the series. He has so many abilities and techniques that there is nearly nothing that he wouldn't be able to deal with. Add in his innate tactical intellect and his immense chakra, and Madara is nearly unstoppable. If you were to just look at his fight against the Shinobi Alliance and subsequent summoning of 2 meteorites, it's clear that Madara of the Uchiha clan is not to be trifled with. In many ways, Meruem is the Frieza of Hunter x Hunter, not just in appearance, but in personality and psychopathic nature. Unsurprisingly, he also believes himself to be above everyone else. However, where Meruem begins to differ from the leader of the Frieza force is his genuine compassion and questioning of his beliefs. Meruem is undoubtedly one of the strongest characters in Hunter x Hunter, able to fight to his fullest capacity shortly after birth. Meruem is nearly perfect when it comes to combat prowess, with the intelligence, strength, speed, and stamina to win any fight that comes his way. He is also very durable, able to take attacks that would likely spell the end for weaker characters without even flinching. As strong and intelligent as Meruem is, though, he was never able to win a game of Gunji against Kamugi, so at least we can say that he isn't the best at everything. The Antispiral from Gurren Lagann isn't so much a character as it is a combined consciousness that forms a vaguely evil entity. The Antispiral race saw the coming danger of the Spiral Nemesis and decided to distance themselves from any kind of spiral power. The Antispiral is essentially the enemy of human evolution, attempting to stop humanity from using spiral energy and using any means they can to do so. And of course, because this is Gurren Lagann, the Antispiral has its own mecha with which it does battle. Instead of harnessing spiral energy, the Antispiral utilizes, what else, anti-spiral energy for power. This power allowed the Antispiral to create a Mecha Grand Ziboma to fight against Simone's Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. The two mechs fight on such an incredible scale that the Gurren Lagann had literally absorbed the entire multiverse into itself. And even then, it was no match for the Antispiral and their mech. The Antispiral has immense power over reality. They are capable of time travel, can erase matter from existence, and can output attacks that do damage regardless of the opponent's durability. The Antispiral even has the ability to regenerate from nothing. Eventually, Simone destroys the Antispiral and all of its consciousness with the Gurren Lagann, bringing a definitive end to the war. Turns out, human evolution wins in the end. A villain that gains power from stealing the abilities of others is a pretty common trope in anime, but one of the most overpowered examples of this in anime is the counterpart of One for All in My Hero Academia. Both the quirk and the villain All for One represent potentially the strongest forces in the world of My Hero Academia. The ability allows its users to take the quirk of another by choice or by force and use it for themselves. As you could imagine, this makes for one extremely overpowered quirk given enough time. All for One was the only villain who was able to seriously injure All Might, and that injury led him to take a sort of early retirement, only able to use his power for a short time every day. All for One has shown off many powerful quirks and a few that he can even stack on top of one another to create stronger versions. Some of his most notable quirks are spring-like limbs, spear-like bones, and air cannons, as well as a variety of more general quirks like hardening, levitation, and telekinesis. Ironically, the only thing that can now stop All for One is the quirk that he gave to his brother One for All that was passed down to All Might and now young Midoriya. Saitama, aka One Punch Man, lives the most boring life a superhero could have. He doesn't get paid much, there aren't enough good deals going on at the grocery store, and all the villains he fights are total pushovers, for him at least. But when Lord Boros sets his sight on Earth, Saitama gets his chance at a real fight. It doesn't last long though. A few consecutive normal punches and a serious punch from Saitama are all it takes to take Boros out of the fight for good. While this may not sound all that impressive on paper, Saitama is an anomaly, and if he wasn't around, Boros would have had no trouble destroying or conquering the Earth. Boros is so far beyond any other heroes that they wouldn't have been able to stand up against him for long, and with his incredible regenerative powers, there was likely no other hero that could have destroyed him for good. Boros may not be the strongest character in the satirical world of One Punch Man, but if you take the caped baldy out of the picture, Boros is extremely overpowered. Yeah, we know, it's a cliche choice. Jiren being super powerful is basically a meme by this point, but to deny how far Goku, Vegeta, and the rest of Universe 7 had to go to defeat him would be a real disservice to the Tournament of Power arc. As the tournament whittled down to the last few universes, it became more and more clear just how much of a powerhouse Jiren really was. And while it may be a stretch to consider Jiren a villain, there's no question that he was the main antagonist. Without even mentioning the rest of his incredible feats during the Tournament of Power, it took the combined forces of Goku, Android 17, and Frieza to just barely take him out. And even then, it was only a win by ring out, causing Goku and, thankfully, Frieza to get taken out of the tournament as well. To go up against some of the strongest characters in all of Dragon Ball and only barely lose by the skin of your teeth in a technicality is no small feat. That's why Jiren easily deserves a spot as one of the strongest villains in all of anime, even though he's not too bad of a guy. Good villains are key to a good story in many action-oriented animes, and while power doesn't necessarily equate to quality, many of these characters are the best villains in the genre. Simply put, anime is awesome, and it has provided us with so many villains that we love to hate.